realizing that I'm not the coolest guy in the club, realizing that I've got nothing to offer a partner. I've got no ambition. I've got no drive. I'm just a guy who goes to the office, goes to the gym, and goes to the pub. And there's this circle in my seven
And I
days.
love that. It's just that balance of like, no, you get to experience each of those fully while still maintaining that, what do I like? What is the next thing that I want to live
And
fully?
to
So I
put that
absolutely.
into perspective of someone who is lost right now, well, figure out what the hell you want. What's the end goal? So, passion, like I'm passionate about all of these different things. And I think if we carefully divide our attention from one start of the week to the end of the week, we can give everything the attention it
Gonna
needs.
reject
I
you. It's
think
actually
that's
like
something
the
that I've
taller you stand, the more like your tribe finds you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
And don't, like I said it earlier, don't label yourself. You're not just one thing.
Direction.
That's
And then so many people are there like, yes, I want to have purpose and I want to have a sense of direction. And what is that missing link between that wanting and actually getting results? Why are so many people not getting results? And hello and welcome. So today with me I have Dave, and we're going to talk about how is it that you get those results? How do you Dave had an interesting story that I really loved about, actually taking control. And he's this person that I really love working with. And just we did a collaboration earlier because it was this person who like got, he wants to do something, he just does it and decide, like that decisiveness and that action, which I absolutely loved. And so many people lack that. So we're gonna talk about more into that, and I'm gonna hopefully share with you some more insights about his journey and about, what does that, how can you bring some more of that into your life? So Dave, thank you so much for being here and welcome.
Thank you for having me. I love being on other people's shows.
Okay, well, let's begin by just like, can you introduce yourself? So what is it that you do? Where are you from? And yeah.
I don't even know how to answer that question. I guess there's a phrase, what is it? Master of none, like jack of all trades, but master of none. I do a lot of things, but I don't do them perfectly. And I do a podcast. I'm a trainer in a gym. I have a 9 to 5. I'm a dad. I'm a husband. I'm a loner. I'm a heavy metal music enthusiast. But I'm just one of those guys that tries to do as much as I can before I go to bed at night, and try and have fun doing it no matter what it is.
I want to emphasize, like, oh my God, we're like a few minutes into this, but I already want to pick something up that you said something amazing, because like I know just how much I remember when we first met and you were talking about your podcast and what you do. And I'm like, oh my God, your energy just like skyrocketed when I heard you talk
Right.
about what is it that you do. And also just, your the way you dress and like that, the heavy metal, like you really feel it, it's part of your identity. It's like, that's who I am. That's what I'm passionate about. And same with, I see how you are with your daughters, for example, and it's the same thing. So that key of like really, not being like, I'm kind of into that, I'm kind of into that, I'm kind of into, like, this is who I am. And there's so many different aspects, like all these things that you said, they're so different, but yet you like give your all to each one of them. And I absolutely love that.
Awesome. Yeah, that's what I try and do. I like to I try and live a good life. I try and put a positive message out there and have a positive impact on the world. I got my, can I swear on your show?
Yes.
Okay, I got my shit together quite a few years ago. And, I don't want to be labeled a thing, I don't want to be just one thing. And when it comes to things like, like I don't want to talk about the pandemic, but when the pandemic took away concerts from me, it was destroying me inside, because when I go to a concert, I'm there with my beer in my hand with musicians that I've had in my ears since I was 14 years of age. I've got concert friends. I'm not an employee. I'm not a dad. I'm not a husband. I'm just a guy at a show. And, like that was taken away from us. And that's an aspect of my life that I cherish now when a concert comes up. And, you really start to pick away at things when they're taken from you. It's like, oh, I missed that. Let's get it back when we can. So passion. Like I'm passionate about all of these different things. And I think if we carefully divide our attention from one start of the week to the end of the week, we can give everything the attention it needs. I think that's something that I've been quite good at over the years.
Hmm. I love that. I love that you brought, that light aspect of something like a pandemic. It's just like, I appreciate it so much more now. It was those things like, oh yeah, that's just something I do to now. I'm like, oh my God, I get to do it,
Yeah.
Yeah. And also just, I really loved how, you said how you're giving it your all and also not limiting yourself to one identity. Like you said, you go to the concerts and you're not that employee in the 9 to 5 anymore, but that is an aspect of you and that's fine. But then you get to fully express that other aspect of you. And that's what so many people kind of like, okay, what is my box and how do I stay here? Like, okay, I can have maybe a few things that are out of the box, but like, is there still like a link to this box? You know what I mean? Like they try to kind of keep it connected or like, okay, I don't have to, like, I can't get too carried away in there. And I love that. It's just that balance of like, no, you get to experience each of those fully while still maintaining that, what do I like? What is the next thing that I want to live fully? So I absolutely love that.
Yeah, that's it. Balance. You hit the nail on the head. Balance and control, key to life, in my opinion. You don't want to show up to work in a heavy metal top with a beer in your hand. You don't want to go to a concert wearing a suit. Like you gotta, like I know that's an extreme example, but
I'm like, you can make it work. You can make both of those work.
I mean, you'll get fired from your job and you'll get beer
You
thrown at
may
you.
not. Maybe your boss is like secretly into that and he's afraid to show it. And you're like, that guy. He's gonna get a promotion right there. You don't know. You don't
All
know.
right. Well, I'll tell you how that goes on Monday.
It's that extreme of following your passion. I'm just like, what if I allow myself to be me? And then you have these like, oh, wait a second. Like, it doesn't mean people are going to reject you. It's actually like the taller you stand, the more like your tribe finds you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
And don't, like I said it earlier, don't label yourself. You're not just one thing. That's that's a mistake I see a lot of people make. They're afraid to get out of their comfort zones. You talk about comfort zones a lot on your social media,
Yeah.
and it's something I pay close attention to because when you're in a 9 to 5, you can't drink beer, you can't say the word fuck all the time. You got to be controlled, you got to be balanced, and that opens itself up into a lot of aspects of life. Control and balance. I think you should name this episode "Control and Balance." I'm throwing it.
I want to ask you about you just keep, it's like I have something I want to ask you and then you say something else. I'm like, damn it, that
All
was
right.
also really good.
Write it down.
And yet, how you have you just said that getting out of the comfort zone, you said don't label yourself. And I actually spoke about this in one of my videos that, it's like growing up, you would see this on TV, right? It's like there was like a group of teenagers or something. There's like 4 characters or 5 characters, and they all have their identity, like they all have personality. And this like repetitive, like on several shows, right? There's like the sporty one, there's like the pretty one, there's the popular one, there's the nerdy one, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's like, it's just that those boxes and those are the labels. And growing up, it's just like, okay, you feel like, which one do I pick? Like, oh, I have to pick one of those. Obviously, I can't just like cherry pick. I have to choose one. And you would think that you grow out of that, but so many people don't. You know what I mean? Like they still live in that one particular box. Like this is what I choose and this is what kind of like I have to live up to. So I do love that, you brought on, first of all, that whole like 9 to 5 has its rules, let's say, but that also, I mean, that discipline, those rules also give an advantage, like they're there to serve a purpose and it's okay to completely let that go and be something completely different afterwards.
True, very true. And there's a danger as well. Something that I really paid close attention to in the last 5 or 6 years. Maybe you can Google this in your spare time, anyone listening. There's this fighter called Ronda Rousey. And fighters in general, when they make it to the pinnacle, like the organization in the US is called the UFC. They pour their life and soul into labeling themselves a fighter, a UFC fighter, a mixed martial arts fighter. And that's all they do. They wake up on a Monday, they go to sleep on a Sunday, and that's what they do in between that time. If it doesn't work out, there's this fighter called Ronda Rousey. She lost for the first time in the UFC or in mixed martial arts. And she talked about a very, very serious and deep depression when she got that first L on her resume. And if you pour your heart and soul into something and it doesn't work out, then that label becomes a very negative tag. And
Yeah.
I'm not trying to, I wouldn't try to sound like I know what I'm talking about, but I can relate to when something doesn't work out, well, then you're not this person. And I think I touched in it when we first spoke on my show, when I didn't almost didn't fight my first mixed martial arts fight because my coach said that I wasn't strong enough and I wasn't training hard enough. And he's going to pull the fight 2 weeks before the fight. And I told you, I'd been telling all my friends that I was this UFC mixed martial arts fighter. I was just trying to be cool. But then
Like there's
I
something standing behind me, like I have this foundation. Yeah.
yeah.
Kind of what it feels like. Yeah.
And I'm just telling all my friends that this is what I am and this is
Yeah.
what I do. And then all of a sudden my coach is saying, well, no, you're not. You're not
Mm-hmm.
fighting now. You're not good enough. So we got to be careful with that label and all of that because it could be very, very dangerous. But I
Yeah.
mean, you would probably know more about that than I would when it comes to um
Those
that.
identity and identifications, absolutely. And there's a
Yeah.
lot of pressure, like when the whole world's watching, and like you have that, and you tell all your friends and all of, like, that's a big thing. But also on the personal level, and when you were speaking, I was thinking like, well, that's what we do so often in our day-to-day life, right? If we put this emphasis of like how many people like make this big deal out of a relationship, and like you stop everything around you and just focus on the relationship, and then if that relationship falls apart, it's like, oh my god, I have nothing else, because people give up their hobbies, they give up who they are, like they give up everything else, their social circle.
Friends, everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's like, and then there's so much pressure on that relationship. It's like, well, I have to make it work and I'm gonna suffocate it, but it's gonna work.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just like that, it doesn't work that way. And it's the same, I want to say, with parenting. um when you have this like, oh my god, I have, like, my kid has to turn out well because my identity is in this. It's like, give the kid a break. They have their own life, and like, don't attach your meaning of just like, this is, how this person turns out, it says everything about me. Like, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's something that I don't want to say I struggle with, but it's something that's very, very heavy on the back of my mind when like you say, in a relationship as well. I mean, I could point in several different relationships where I've been 100% invested and I've neglected text messages from friends, simple things like going out at the
Mhm.
weekend. I'm like, no, I'm with this girl now and I'm not, I'll talk to you guys some other time, like very, very dangerous when you fully invest in one thing. That's what you do. That's what you're labeling. You're now labeling yourself this boyfriend. And 6 months down the line, it doesn't work out. And you call your friends back and it's just like, well, no, we moved on,
Mm.
you know.
But it's also the dangers of, because you think it's like, oh, but I'm showing up well. Or like, with the kid, it's like, well, I'm being such a good parent because I'm putting like so much effort into them. It's like, no, you're suffocating them. Like,
Yeah.
the kindest thing, the most powerful way you can love someone is through self-love, is through being yourself, and like through filling and giving from the overflow, not like, oh my God, I have to please you, or like I have to live up to this label that I have created. And then I'm hoping that maybe you kind of co-create it with me. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm just creating my own label. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
And so it's like, you think like you're doing the right thing, or it's like, oh, I'm this boyfriend and this is what you're doing. It's like, no, you're creating codependency, let's say, or like you're not allowing the person to discover you. You're just there kind of, I want to go extremely and say people pleasing. Not always the case, but in a lot of cases it is. So
yeah,
yeah, just like knowing what you are. And I feel like that importance of like reconnecting that it's okay to be many things. And also just like, what lights me up right now? What do I want to do? And really checking in with that. I feel like that's an important thing to do from time to time.
yeah. And also, there's no play by play. There's no textbook.
Mm,
There's no, like, you don't learn this stuff in school. You got to trial and error, and everything has to have its balance. Everything has to have its control,
yeah.
balance and control. Um, but it's just, yeah, like trial and error when it comes to like spending the whole day with your kid, telling your kid what needs to be done next,
Mm,
or taking 2 hours and saying, okay, well, daddy needs to go over here and do this. Now you guys got to
mm,
stay over there and play. Um, but yeah, that balance definitely needs to come into it because again, we're only human. We all make mistakes.
yeah.
And we don't like There's no textbook. There's no, it's
Yeah.
all trial and error.
Yeah, and you just touched on boundaries, which is a great one to address. But first, I want to ask, you said something like, I'm trying to live a happy life. What is your definition of that?
What's my definition of a happy life? Oh, I just folded my arms. That's a defensive. Oh wow. I'm
There we
becoming
go.
way more
Just
conscious of
so
this.
cornered. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
I
watching
like
your
that you were
con
there, like conscious of your body language. Like, whoa, I just did that.
yeah. I'm watching your stuff way too much. What's my definition of a happy day? Um, there are it just depends on the day. And I hate when someone says, well, it depends on, well, what does it depend on? Were you disciplined? Did you wake up at the time you wanted to wake up? Were you late? Were things prepared the night before? Are you stressed before you even left the apartment? If I check all those boxes, then that's my morning sorted. We've got this illusion that we can sacrifice 15 minutes of our try and gain 15 minutes of sleep and sacrifice potentially a career for that extra time in bed. We'll go to bed 15 minutes earlier, you know? But yeah, if I check the boxes in the morning and I get to lunchtime and I've got a nice lunch ahead of me and the rest of the afternoon, whether it's during the week or at the weekend, if I accomplish all those little things, then I get to my evening time. What do I need to do in the evening? Am I having a party? Are my feet going up? Am I cleaning the apartment for guests tomorrow? Have I made a positive impact on anybody on the world today? That would be a checkbox. Or am I taking me time? Am I just putting these beautiful noise canceling?
Canceling.
Yeah, I struggle with English. Um, do I take time for myself and just listen to music and get my things in order? Um, Things like that, checking all those little boxes make me happy, listening to the right music at the right time, getting the right amount of attention from who I'm seeking it
Mm.
from, getting a cuddle when you need a cuddle. Like, yeah, I'm a guy. I want cuddles. You know what I mean? Things like that. If I check all those boxes, I go to bed at night, I'm a happy man.
I love that. I love that, as you were speaking, it was really that that decisiveness and like that really like that masculine energy. Like, did I check my box? Like, this is my purpose. Did I have, like what is it that I said? Am I accomplishing it? So I really love hearing that. That was really just that structure, that empowerment, that like yeah, that was just really, really good to hear because so many people lack that. So many people are, kind of going in the day like, oh, we'll see how the circumstances are, and like a lot of not structure and then wondering, why is it that I'm not living the life that I want? Why is it that I'm not accomplishing what I want to accomplish? So my
Right.
next question is to you. It's like, you said that you got your shit together. What did that mean?
Ooh.
Ooh.
I had a relationship in Ireland when I was living in Ireland, and I was angry when that relationship disintegrated. And I realized that through many, many years of getting my face punched in the gym, and having things in there fixed and screws tightened and oiled and whatever, that I had nothing for this person to stay. I had no reason for them to stay. I'm disappointed that they left, but I gave them no reason to stay. So when I talk about getting my shit together, I'm like, motivation is a good thing, but discipline is better in my opinion. I started to become way more disciplined. Oh my God, she's got the pen.
I am writing it down. I love that.
I listen to a lot of Jordan Peterson. I'm sure you know who Jordan Peterson is. And what he says makes a lot of sense and resonates with me because I only found out who he was like 3 or 4 years ago. But I only started to get my shit together 12 years ago. So there's a lagging there and stuff that he's saying now. I look back on my 13 years ago, 12 years ago, 11 years ago, and I'm like, that's what I actually did. I
Mm.
started to become very, very disciplined with my day and not just disciplined in that I showed up to places on time and I went to work when I was told to go to work, but like checking the boxes in the morning, afternoon, and evening.
I love
And
that when it clicks and you realize like all these things. It's like it could be, books or motivational speakers or like quotes, and you're like, oh yeah, that's really wise. But then when you actually live it and it's experiential, like, oh my God, that was gold. But I wasn't at the place to see it back then. I love
yeah,
that.
yeah, fortunately, I didn't get in any trouble. I was never in trouble with the cops or anything like that. I don't want you to think that was this loose cannon or anything. But I was very, very um, loose with my time and
Mm.
just not disciplined with my money, not disciplined with my attitude. Um, would like I'll give you an example. Plans to go for a meal on a Friday night with your partner, and like Friday afternoon, getting a text from the guys saying, "Hey, we're going to this bar and we're getting wasted." Well, I won't be going to dinner, but I'll talk to you tomorrow. And then tomorrow's the hangover, and then I'll talk to you
Ouch.
Sunday. And just asshole behaviors like that, realizing that
I
that's
don't
not
know why that person didn't stay. I mean, that sounds like a real catch right there.
that's what I said at that time. But yeah, basic things like that. Things that I look at now are basic. But back then I was just like, why isn't this person I'm fantastic. Why does this that person not want to be with me? you know but then through getting beat up in the gym over and over and over again by people who are better than me, realizing that I'm not the coolest guy in the club, realizing that I've got nothing to offer a partner, I've got no ambition, I've got no drive, I'm just a guy who goes to the office, goes to the gym, and goes to the pub, and there's this circle in my 7 days. Yeah, realizing that that's not good enough for someone who I want to make a life with, that was a big kick in the backside for me. So that's when I got my shit together.
Okay, I love that. Now, do you feel like it's necessary? Because that's something that is asked a lot. Do you feel like it's necessary for people to hit their rock bottom to actually create significant, quick changes in their life? What's your opinion on that?
100%. When you're sitting there confused in a situation, you don't know why this person doesn't want to be around you, doesn't want to talk to you, doesn't want to have fun with you, doesn't want to sit and have food with you, even, or have a conversation on the phone. You only realize it when they're gone, when they're
Mm.
not wanting to talk to you, when they don't want to be around you, when they don't give you the option to explain yourself. That's when you realize it. And I think that's a rock bottom moment for anyone. Not rock bottom as in like with drugs or bottoming out or alcohol or anything
There's
like
so
that.
many different rock bottoms.
Yeah, true. But yeah, when that person doesn't want to give you the time of day anymore, that's a rock bottom moment. And you got to fight to get out of that.
Hmm.
You got to drop your chin and keep your hands up and fight your way through that storm. That's for damn sure.
Hmm.
But yeah, I would agree 100%. You do need to hit that rock bottom moment for any type of clarity, because then you realize what you fucked up on.
I want to address the other side of this. We're gonna twist this a little bit because so many people are in that other place, like as your ex-partner, that is just there, like, well, I'm sure this person will get their shit together, and I know that they want to be with me, and so on, and just that importance of and I want to hear your feedback. It's just like my take on this, that it's like you're doing them a disservice by being their float. And I know I had several, like I was dealing with somebody who had alcoholism problems. It's just like, it's not helping that you're there trying to help them or trying to make it okay. It's just like, you just have to let go at some point. They either drown or they learn to swim, but you can't be their float for, as long as you're trying, thinking about like, I'm there to help. So what is your take on that? It's like that, because a lot of people stay in those relationships, like, I'm sure they're going to get better. I'm sure they're trying. It's like sometimes the loving thing to do is just to walk away so that the person can actually get slapped in the face and realize like, shit, I don't like this and I want to get out of that.
I can't even imagine how hard that decision is to make. I've never been in that situation, but to be able to throw your hands up and say, I love this person. I'm enabling this person. This person is always going to have someone to grab onto. Um, you again, I don't know if it's right that I would comment, but that would be something that I would definitely struggle to a decision I would struggle to make.
Oh,
If
because you were on the other side of that. That's why I'm
Yeah,
asking you. It's like, like as painful as that was, I'm sure then just like, looking back, you're like, that's when you got your shit together. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like that's when everything changed. So how do you feel about that looking back?
uh, super grateful,
Yeah.
super grateful. Um, yeah, you stumped me with that one now because I'm starting to get a little emotional. Um, yeah,
I should have told you, like I make people cry. That's just what I do.
my goal, I said earlier, my goal is to not
Not
cry.
cry, but there we go.
Um, yeah, when you're told, like, it is the most wonderful feeling looking back, thinking that I got out of that situation of not having that connection with that person anymore, but that person letting me completely go. Like there was no danger of like, I guess the strongest position for someone to be, not the strongest position, but the most extreme position would be if someone's a drug addict or an alcohol abuser, and you are seeing this person go down this mess that is inevitably going to lead to their death. But keeping a watchful eye and letting your hands back and say, I can't do any more for this person is probably the most heartbreaking decision anyone can make. With me, it wasn't that extreme. I was just a non-disciplined person who was very, very selfish, and it was probably a lot easier for this person to throw their hands up and say he's got to be selfish with someone else now. I'm done. But
I wanted to
yeah,
actually emphasize that you were talking about the extreme cases. I'm like, well, there's the day to day that's just kind of the equivalent of that, really, as well. Like when there is that lack of discipline, the person's not, fully in the relationship, let's say, since we're touching on relationships here. And how much of that are you willing to tolerate, and how much you're willing to, like, if you don't want it, you don't want it.
yeah, again, there's the extreme and the non-extreme. The extreme obviously would lead to the unfortunate death of someone that was going through horrific amounts of abuse, whether it's drugs or alcohol or whatever. But yeah, the day to day, it's a, would you call it a less problem, but it's still a problem in
Hmm.
someone's life if someone's not fully invested in a relationship, or if someone is a disrespectful coworker or a friend that you thought you could count on or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Then yeah, you would be definitely in a position of strength to say, listen, my hands are up here. I've done everything I can. Good luck with the rest of your career. I'll hopefully see you down the road sometime soon. But yeah, that's a very strong and very courageous path to take for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, and for some reason, friendships are all as well coming up, especially those close friendships that somebody from years, like from childhood, and like seeing them go down that path and being able to like make that difficult decisions. Like, I can't help you. Like, this is what you're doing to your life, and that's okay, and that's not the path that I choose.
Right.
So, yeah, that's a heavy one. All
A
right.
heavy one, huh? I almost cried there, huh?
I'll get you next time. Uh,
Next time.
Okay, I want to bring back to the topic of, what is that shift, right? From, you were there lacking ambition, lacking purpose, lacking sense of direction. And then so many people are there like, yes, I want to have purpose and I want to have a sense of direction. And what is that missing link between that wanting and actually getting results? Why are so many people not getting results? And I'm sure that you can speak about this both in the context of, being a trainer, as well as just in your personal life, because you had that shift. So why do you think you weren't able to get that earlier? What was that secret ingredient?
That secret ingredient is time, in my opinion. It was a time where I was very, what would you say young? I was like 26, maybe 25. Like there are 25-year-old fuck ups walking around the streets hungover every day, right? And then there are 25-year-old entrepreneurs on their way to making fortunes before they're 30, you know? So one is probably very happy, the other one is probably very happy and broke. So what's the missing link? You just got to make sure that you're doing the right thing for yourself. For me, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't a fuck up. And I think these baby steps along the way allowed me the maturity to be disciplined, to be motivated, to not waste my money, to not abuse alcohol or drugs, to be somebody who the person I was attracted to would want to be attracted to me.
Mhm.
And that came with a lot of tough love, that was from, I think I talked about that on when we were talking before. Um, Not coming from a position of a safe space or to have my hand held, but rather to be put into some environment of complete unknown, complete fear, complete danger.
It's like
Like,
swim out.
say again.
It's like swim out, when you're just pushing the deep water, like learn to swim.
There you go. Exactly that. Because I just, that's when I started to really start to open up myself. Like, I'm getting beat up by this 17-year-old kid in the gym. I'm not this invincible, superhuman, cool guy with, you know, um, always wearing like rock tops and always talking about what I did last weekend with all the guys and stuff like that. But like not trying to become this super successful person overnight, but just trying to fix myself one baby step at a time. And to put that into perspective of someone who is lost right now, well, figure out what the hell you want. What's the end goal? I don't know. I didn't know at the time what the end goal was. I just kind of wanted to fix myself from the perspective of like discipline. So what does that mean? Well, that means you got to get to the gym on time before class. So if you fix that part of your life, then you're going to be there for the warm up. And if you're there for the warm up, you're going to have your muscles and everything in order for the actual technique. And if you got the technique down, you're going to have things in order for when you're doing sparring, which is full contact. And when you've got that in order, well, you're going to be better tomorrow night. So there's no like blinkers on, let's see where the end goal is. No, fix yourself one day at a time, one step during the day, every day. Now, do you want to go like I'll look at it from the perspective of me being a coach in the gym? Do you want to be a fighter, or do you just want to go and learn how to do boxing, throw punches with people you're comfortable with in the gym? Because I know plenty of people that have been going to the gym consistently for the last 12 years and they've never gotten a fight. And I know people who started with me and who are in professional fight leagues fighting on TV. So it just depends on what you want.
And
And
setting that intention.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. The intention. What's your intention? If you don't know what your intention is, keep going. Anyway, let's see where this leads. That's kind of what I did. I
I
had
want to say
no,
with that, sorry, I'm going to interrupt because like that, people have that, not knowing, and it's just like, I don't know, is it this one? Is it this one? And it's just like the analysis paralysis, where it's just like, you're just not moving because you don't know. And it's just like, just pick one, like pick one fucking lane, like at this point, anything will do, just keep going. And then you'll figure it out. And then you can like switch those lanes, but just like, don't stop. Cause that's where everything freezes over.
yeah. And if it's not the right way for you, go a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to be a drummer in a heavy metal band. I thought I was going to be touring the world, rocking and rolling every night, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And at 25, that all stopped. So, at 25, the like Metallica were touring the world, sex, drugs, rock and roll. And all of a sudden I get to 25. I've done one tour of the country, the small island I lived on, and things changed. And then I wanted to be a professional fighter. And well, that changed. Well, now I'm trying to live the 9 to 5 rat race of Switzerland. Maybe that'll change. I don't know. But I'm, again, just one day at a time trying to figure out your purpose without hurting anybody.
And I want to touch on here that is like, people are there going, because that's what I had when I was studying. I had like a business, international business degree and international economics degree. And it's like I was completely in a different setting. And then like now I'm just like, oh, I want to be this and do a completely different work that I do now. And that was such a shift. And I'm like, oh my God, that whole like money, very well spent on 2 degrees and like all this time and everything. And people, they're like, oh, it's wasted energy, but it's never wasted. Like it's like you give your fullest and that's part of the fun. But oftentimes, people look at, oh, well, I gave it all to music and that didn't work out. So that failed. It's like, no, that you following your passion showed you the next passion, and then it showed you the next passion. And it's like, that is part of the process, that is part of the fun, that is part of life, just giving your all to those every single step.
Yeah, and you learn from each experience.
Yes.
Like the top guys in the world, they didn't just start like Elon Musk didn't just start doing Tesla. He had like 550 other failed projects before that one came along, and then SpaceX, and now he's, I don't know, did the Twitter thing fall through or something like that? But
I have no idea.
like there's no one way. You've got a long life to live. There's many, many days, many, many years ahead where you can change your direction. You just got to figure out your control of balance and discipline. And if someone is lost, it's a very confusing place to be, but it's also a very wonderful place to be, where the magic happens. And
also, you can only go up from there. Clarity's reached through confusion.
Exactly. You talked to me 15 years ago, Dave. In 15 years, you're going to be in Switzerland without speaking French or German. And you're going to be doing a podcast with the powerful self of Anna. I would have laughed at you. I'm like, I'm not going to Switzerland. What are you talking about? But there are no decisions made so early that end up being the way. So go figure yourself out, get the clarity, find the genius, and just enjoy your life. That's too general, maybe. I don't know.
No, but that's good. It's like, it's those simple things, like it is, but that's also where the gold is. Like, that's literally all there is to do. So I absolutely love that. Okay, being mindful of the time, because I'm just like, how the time flies so quickly. Right. Where can people find you?
Just go to Instagram. I'm most active on Instagram at City Martial Arts. Absolutely. That's where I'm most active. That's where we do training outside now in Lucerne. Anyone who wants to come and join us, come and join us. Classes have been down for the last month, but it's only because I've been so busy. Not going to be so busy in about 2 or 3 weeks. So we're going to be back. Posting content on social media all the time. I got a podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. It's under CMA Podcast. And just enjoying life one podcast at a time.
And your YouTube as well. I'll put the link as well below, but do you want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah, the YouTube is just CMA Podcast as well. I try and bang out 2 a week. I haven't banged out anything in about a week and a half, so I'm slow this week. But hey, we got a busy life.
There's so, but every episode's like, you can really feel your passion. I absolutely love that.
Yeah, it's
fun. Thank you so much for being here. And
thank you for joining. Or thank you for
check out
me.
Dave's content. It's absolutely amazing.